Why do we sit here being silent, watching our leaders turn into tyrants? Have they forgotten which side they're fighting for? Checks and balances set aside and rule of laws, youth and ours, and Constitution openly ignored. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Is it time for right and left to join a greater cause? Man, I'm not okay. The rich claim to be victimized just to attack the marginalized. Is 1% really worth more than all the sick and poor? Always preaching about fellowship while planning their dictatorship. Now we've seen how all of this plays out before. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Time for you and I to join our country's call. Man, I'm not okay. Ever wonder all the mystery, why they whitewash our history, keep dividing is their plan? All in all, such a scam. Algorithm very sly, only used to spread the lies. Politicians know well, hate is simple to upsell. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Time for you and I to join our country's call.
We are not okay. America is not okay, and we all know that. Former Congressman Joe Walsh, this is The Social Contract with Joe Walsh. Let's figure out how to get okay together. Hey, my kingdom this morning, this Wednesday morning, my kingdom for a White House reporter who will actually stand up and defend their female colleagues. My kingdom for that. It happened again yesterday. I mean, I would give everything. I might end this show. I might stop tweeting on Twitter. I might get off of social media. I might go live in the middle of nowhere with 20 dogs and you'll never hear from me again if I can find one White House reporter who, the next time Donald Trump hurls an ugly, sexist, cowardly insult at a female reporter, and then another reporter in the room finally says to that coward in chief, hey, Mr. President, that's out of line. You're out of line. Apologize to her. You have no right to say that. She's a good reporter. How dare you attack her physical appearance? Do you have no decency, sir? If a White House reporter did that, defended a female colleague, when that fucking coward in chief hurls another sexist insult their way, I think I'd walk away from everything. I'd be so happy. I want it to happen so bad that I'm almost willing to give everything up. Because this has been going on forever. Yes, Trump treats women like dirt. Donald Trump has sexually abused, harassed, raped a couple dozen women. Donald Trump is most likely a pedophile. He's mentioned in the Epstein file thousands and thousands of times. There are allegations in the Epstein file that he was with underage girls, that he raped underage girls, that he threatened to kill underage girls. Those allegations, I'm being very careful, are in the Epstein files. So Donald Trump has a long history of abusing, raping, and demeaning women. which, by the way, if you're a man or a guy and you do that, you're a fucking coward. You're a miserable wretch. Trump has always done this with female reporters. Always. And since he first became president, since he's been on the public scene, you remember, what was it, just a couple months ago? He pointed a finger at a female reporter on Air Force One and he called her Miss Piggy. Hey, Miss Piggy, attacking her physical appearance. And then like 2 weeks later, he attacked another reporter's physical appearance, of female reporters. And not one reporter, not one other reporter on Air Force One, when Trump pointed his finger at a female reporter and said, hey, Miss Piggy, shut up, Miss Piggy, not one other fucking media member said anything to Trump. They never have. I'm worked up about this because yesterday it happened again to CNN's Kaitlan Collins, the scrum, right? The big, overweight, elderly, senile coward. There he sits slumped over at the desk, at the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, taking questions from reporters. So there are a bunch of reporters in there in the Oval Office. Kaitlan Collins asks him question, doesn't matter what the question is. She asked him questions about the Epstein files, went back and forth a couple times, and then Trump finally got fed up and he said, you know, you're the worst, to Kaitlan Collins. You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know? And then he points to Kaitlan Collins and he looks around at everybody else in the Oval Office, all the other reporters. He's pointing at Kaitlan Collins and he says, you know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile, he says to Kaitlan Collins. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face. You know why? Trump continued. You know why you're not smiling? As he attacks Kaitlan Collins, because you know you're not telling the truth. You're a very dishonest organization. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're a young woman. You don't smile. I've never seen you smile. You're the worst. You're a horrible reporter. There he went again, going off yesterday on a female reporter, CNN's Kaitlan Collins, in the Oval Office, and not one other fucking reporter said a thing. Not one of Kaitlan Collins's colleagues defended her. She asked legitimate questions about Epstein. And by the way, the next reporter, I don't know what the next reporter asked Trump, should have repeated Kaitlan Collins's question. And they all should have done that until he answered the fucking question, the coward. But that's not the most important point. The most important point is this. We talk about, look, Trump's a horrible human being. He's a fascist. He's a bully. He's a psychopath. He's a pathological liar. He's a fascist. He's enabled to be all these things. He's allowed to be all these things. He has co-conspirators who help him be all these things. And we always rag rightly about all of his enablers, all of the chicken shit members of my former political party who let Trump do whatever he wants. All these media companies and big tech companies and law firms and universities, everybody else who's bent the knee to this cowardly fascist in chief. But we don't talk enough about the media members, about the members of the media who enable him to be an ass, to be a bully, to be a bad guy, to believe that he can do whatever he wants and say whatever he wants. We don't talk enough about how the media enables him. And this is a perfect example again. Every week or two, he just goes off on a female reporter. Insults her personal appearance, calls her fat, calls her stupid. makes fun of the way she looks. You know, she generally does this with female reporters. Questions their qualifications as a journalist. Every week or two, Trump does this to a female reporter in the presence of other reporters, male and female, and not one of these other reporters says a gosh darn thing. I couldn't live with myself. But again, I'm somebody who threw my career away to stand up against Trump. I couldn't live with myself. If I were a reporter in the Oval Office yesterday, when Donald Trump went off on Kaitlan Collins and he said, "You suck. You're a lousy reporter, young woman. You never smile. I've never seen you smile." Man, I'd turn to the president. I'd say, "How dare you? You coward." I've known Kaitlan Collins for years. She smiles a lot. I've seen her smile a lot. She's a hell of a reporter. She's got more balls, more courage, more guts in her pinky than you do in your entire body. You got no fucking decency, sir. How dare you say that to Kaitlan Collins? Apologize to her and answer her question. That's what I would have done if I was in the Oval Office yesterday with Kaitlan Collins and Donald Trump. I'd have punched him in the nose, figuratively speaking. I'd have stood up to him. How fucking dare you? What a shitty thing to say. What a sexist thing to say. Hey, how come you're always attacking female reporters, Mr. President? Huh? You got a problem with female reporters? What a scumbag you are. Apologize to her. She asked you a legitimate question. You don't have the balls to answer that question? No, I'm serious. I would have said that directly to him. I'd have leaned over that desk and gotten in his grill and said that. And yeah, I probably would have been escorted out of the Oval Office. And yeah, I'd never be invited back to the Oval Office. I get it. And yeah, I'd probably lose my job. But God damn it, I'd have my integrity. I could live with myself. I could sleep with myself. I could wake up the next morning because I did what's right. I stood up to the world's biggest bully and I defended someone who was unfairly attacked. I did the right thing. No media member has ever even bothered to defend a female colleague when Trump rips them and attacks them. And it happened to Kaitlan Collins again yesterday. It will happen again next week. My kingdom for the first media member who will do so. Fuck access. Fuck your job. Do the right thing. He's a bully. He's a coward. All bullies are cowards. He's a sexist. He's all of that. But he's able to do whatever he wants. He's able to do whatever he wants because people let him do whatever he wants. You get my drift. The only other thing I wanted to get pissed off about this morning, and by the way, before I get pissed off about it, there's Paxos.app. Paxos.app. We are really close to putting this thing out. We need to raise some funds this next week to work with our legal partners and advocates to make sure that this one-stop shop for immigrants and citizens in this country to legally and lawfully fight back against ICE is in the hands of the folks who need it. We need your help. Become part of the movement. Go to Paxos.app, Paxos.app, read about it, share it, give what you can, spread the word. This is really scary stuff. The Department of Homeland Security is attacking free speech, is trying to intimidate people and silence people because of what they say. This is a really scary issue. Homeland Security is targeting Americans with a secretive legal weapon. Get this. In October, a few months ago, a retiree in Boston emailed a DHS attorney to urge mercy for an asylum seeker. So a 67-year-old retired dude in Boston sends an email to a DHS attorney urging DHS to have mercy for an asylum seeker. DHS then, you know what DHS did then in response to this email from an American citizen simply asking for mercy for an asylum seeker? DHS subpoenaed his Google account and sent investigators to his home. This is beyond horrifying. DHS sent an administrative subpoena to Google for this retired dude's records and sent armed agents out to his house for the offense of writing a plea to have mercy on an asylum seeker. Let me give you a quick read about this. This retired guy, in the 67-year-old guy, John, in the suburbs of Philadelphia. I said Boston, I was wrong. In the suburbs of Philadelphia, John, 67-year-old, he's retired. He decided that the America he believed in would not make it if people like him didn't speak up. So John, on a cool, rainy morning in the suburbs of Philly, John, recently retired, marched up to his study and began to type. He'd just read about the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's case against an Afghan it was trying to deport. The immigrant, identified in the Washington Post October 30 investigation as H, had begged federal officials to reconsider, telling them the Taliban would kill him if he was returned to Afghanistan. John, in his email, John said, that's unconscionable. And so he found an email address online, a public email for the lead prosecutor against this Afghan national. Lead prosecutor, the guy's name is Joseph Dernbach. He was named in the story. And then John opened his Gmail on his computer and he wrote Mr. Dernbach an email to his public email address. Dear Mr. Dernbach, John said, don't play Russian roulette with H's, that's the Afghan national, with H's life, he wrote. Err on the side of caution. There's a reason the U.S. government, along with many other governments, don't recognize the Taliban. Apply principles of common sense and decency. That was it. That was all 67-year-old John in the Philadelphia suburbs wrote to the lead prosecutor in this Afghan national's case, pleading for mercy for this Afghan national seeking asylum, pleading that we don't return him back to the Taliban where he faces certain death. That was it. In 5 minutes, John finished his email to this lead prosecutor, signed his first and last name, hit send, and hoped that his email would make a difference. The ICE trial attorney's email address is literally a matter of public record, filed with the Florida bar, and is in the top 3 search results when you Google his name. Yet for sending that email pleading for emergency, DHS opened a criminal investigation against John. This happened here in America 2 months ago. This subpoena is part of a criminal investigation, Assistant Secretary Trish McLaughlin said in a statement, noting that Homeland Security Investigations has broad administrative subpoena authority. Trish McLaughlin, Assistant Secretary, didn't say who was under criminal investigation, and the agency didn't answer any questions about John. They launched a criminal investigation against John, who sent an email to a prosecutor simply pleading for mercy for an asylum seeker. Federal agents, armed, came to John's home and interviewed him for 20 minutes. They said DHS headquarters ordered it. Thankfully, the agents seemed to realize how ridiculous this was, that this email didn't break any laws. But they still told John his rhetoric was inflammatory, pleading with the lead prosecutor on his public email for mercy. The end of the story is this: DHS dropped their criminal investigation of John, retiree living in the Philadelphia suburbs. But the story is, in America, someone writes a letter to a member of the government, and immediately his email is shut down. Immediately, a criminal investigation is begun of him. Immediately, his Google account, his search history is immediately accessed. All of this happened to John because he wrote about a 2-paragraph letter to the lead prosecutor begging for mercy, and then armed DHS agents showed up at his home. This all happened in America. This all happened outside of Philadelphia a couple months ago because an American citizen exercised his First Amendment rights and petitioned his government to take mercy on an asylum seeker. And a criminal investigation was launched. I don't care who you are politically. I don't. Generally, I don't. This ought to just send fucking chill up your backside. This is chilling. This is intimidating. This is the stuff of dictatorships, of authoritarian regimes, of fascist regimes. You take pen to paper and you send an email to your government just asking for mercy for an asylum seeker. And a criminal investigation is launched on you. Your entire Google search history is apprehended. Heavily armed DHS agents show up at your home. It's an attack on free speech. It's an attack on freedom. And it is an attempt to silence and intimidate and censor and scare people. And see, these are the stories that don't get out. Nobody on MSNBC, CNN, Fox, anybody, forget about Fox. With all the shit that goes on every day, this is the story we miss. This is the story nobody talks about. With all the ugly fascist things that ICE, those mass federal thugs, are doing on our streets every day. You want to make a big deal about, write a big story about some 67-year-old retired dude outside of Philadelphia who simply sent an email to the lead prosecutor in an asylum case, just asking for mercy, and then all hell rains down on him. He just, from his own den, he wrote an email on his computer. Like that's a big story. It is a big story. Because this kind of thing should never fucking happen in America. And it's really fucking important that we put a spotlight on this. This happened to John outside of Philly a couple months ago. How many more times has it happened? I'm going to make a big deal about this story. I'm going to spread this and share this everywhere. I hope and ask that you do the same. That's all I've got this Wednesday morning. Thank you for listening. Again, Paxis.app, my Substack, Social Contract with Joe Walsh.substack.com. There it is, socialcontract.substack.com, Social Contract with Joe Walsh. Special plea. You want to help keep my voice out there? It's not easy. And I'm under a lot of threats every single day. If you want to help keep my voice out there, the single most important thing you can do is just become a paid subscriber to the Social Contract with Joe Walsh.substack.com. Single best thing you can do to keep my voice out there and to keep me talking about and putting a spotlight on stories like John's and how DHS fucking attacked him in this country. I'm going to keep putting stories like that out. Help me become a subscriber to my Substack. Thanks. As always, you got an email, you got anything you want to send me, say to me, please do. The Social Contract with Joe Walsh at gmail.com. That's all one word. The Social Contract with Joe Walsh at gmail.com. Halfway through the week. Hope you're having a good week. Thanks, everybody. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, follow, and share The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple, Spotify. Plus, don't forget to subscribe to The Social Contract on Substack. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.